Welcome to Sapa. We've just finished day one of our little adventure through the far north of Vietnam, and here I am looking over the Cat Cat Valley from my hotel room. It's been a great day. It started very early though. It started at about 5:30 this morning when I got off the train at Lao Cai. You might say it started the night before because I've spent the night in the train with a quite sick infant, her mother and her grandmother from Hanoi all the way to Lao Cai. So it was a fairly long night as well, and it's been a big, long day, but it's been a beautiful day. Lots of wonderful stuff to show you. So I hope you'll enjoy this little snapshot look at Sapa in the far north of Vietnam. The journey starts here at Hanoi's railway station. It's not especially busy as big city rail stations in Asia go, but there's enough confusion amongst both locals and foreigners to make up for the small crowd.
Well, we got here really early thinking that we would get on the train and relax and finally have air conditioning because we didn't have air conditioning in our hotel. And so far all we've gotten is the runaround. I've been to like 3 different counters and they keep telling me to go to a different one. And so I guess we had the wrong kind of ticket, but we don't know what kind of ticket to get. So we're basically just walking around looking lost, and hopefully we'll get on and leave.
In the end they did get on, and once we were on the platform, things improved a lot. While weird train names like Ratrico and Livertrans might create expectations of railway horror, the train is clean and comfortable, and good value for money. My travel companions boarded soon after me, a sick baby, mother and grandma. They'd travelled from Lai Châu in the far north to Hanoi so that baby could have a serious liver condition treated, and now they were on their way home. It didn't take me long to get to sleep, and the 8-hour journey of just over 300 kilometres passed quickly. I met my guide, Mr. Tan, and we decided to start our day with a look at Lao Cai town on the Chinese border. Pretty well everyone travelling to Sapa passes through Lao Cai, but very few stop for a look.
So right here we are in Vietnam, but if you look towards the left side about is the Red River, and then what's in front about is the Nat Thi River, and China is in the corner between 2 different rivers.
China at sunrise.
And actually at the worker they transport all the goods from Vietnam to China.
That's a lot of stuff. It's a classic border town, and small trade seems to dominate this morning. These bicycles were absolutely packed for the crossing into China. "10 minutes out of Lao Cai and we hit beautiful rice fields. And there's plenty of activity in them today too. Planting and harvesting, and it's still very, very labour intensive. It's a beautiful scene for a visitor, but this is back-breaking work. Yet everywhere we stop, the people are incredibly friendly. Technology is slowly making its way up here though. In the past couple of years, these threshing machines have been introduced. There's still plenty of manual labour involved, but it beats threshing by hand, which was standard practice until recently, and is still common. This is Mung Hung, and this market, quiet today, buzzes with hill tribe men and women from villages all through the valley on Sundays. So if you decide to take this longer route, try and make it on a Sunday. From Mung Hung we continue through more beautiful mountain country, terraced rice fields and waterfalls, before arriving in Sapa at around 2 p.m. There's the old church. And the mist. The French took a shine to Sapa in the early 20th century, and by the 1930s there were a couple of 100 villas and a church in what must have been a delightful hill station. By 1950, Ho Chi Minh's Viet Minh had liberated Sapa. 4 whole years before they conquered the French at Dien Bien Phu. Not much remains of the French town though. What the French themselves, the Viet Minh and the Chinese didn't destroy in 20th century battles, developers have demolished in the new millennium. Yet Sapa still feels remarkably good, in spite of becoming a town now focused solely on the tourist dollar. It's harder to call how it'll feel in a few years from now though. Making the late afternoon walk to Cat Cat from Sapa. Pretty much as soon as you get out of the town, you're immediately in much more pleasant surrounds. It is absolutely beautiful here this afternoon. The views around Sapa are breathtaking, but the main draw for travellers is the amazing ethnic diversity in this part of Vietnam. Centuries before the French and the Vietnamese showed any real interest in this region, these hills were dotted with villages inhabited by different Montagnard tribes. And it remains that way to this day. Ethnic minorities still make up more than 80% of the population here. The biggest minority group are these people, the Black Hmong. In fact, they're not a minority at all. They make up more than 50% of Sapa's population. You'll meet lots of Black Hmong in Sapa with their distinctive dark blue costumes, both in town and on walks like this one to Cat Cat. This young mother, Sa, was married when she was 17 and now has a 6-month-old child. The Montagnard tribes have their own languages and traditions, though Vietnamese is increasingly spoken as a second language. Many of the kids also speak very good English. The Cat Cat walk remains very popular with travellers for good reason. From Cat Cat, we head back into town on the back of motorbikes. Back in town the next morning, it's hard to know what to think about the Hill Tribe women and girls selling their trademark woven fabric and jewellery outside hotels and on the streets. But there seems to be plenty of fun being had on all sides. These beautiful lush rice terraces convey a false impression. Poverty in these villages remains entrenched. Farmers here can only produce a single rice crop each year. This Hmong man invited us into his house outside of Sapa and explained that the especially cold and wet conditions in 2008 left many villages short of food supplies this year. We travelled on to the Red Zao village of Ta Phin. In recent years it's become a mandatory shopping stop for tour groups out of Sapa. This woman told me that this had markedly improved the lives of these people. Even as a superficial observer, I could see that. On my first visit more than a decade ago, the children here were visibly undernourished and conditions were dire. This time round, things were far better. This woman told me that her children were learning to read, and that was helping her and her family. The treks between villages around Sapa are the highlight of any visit. They can be as easy or rigorous as you choose, and you don't have to venture far from the crowds to have some very memorable experiences. On the next part of our journey through Vietnam's northwest, we'll travel from Sapa to the small town of Pa Sa, en route to Dien Bien Phu. For more information on travel to Sapa and Vietnam's far northwest, check out rustycompass.com.